Hi, I'm Donna Griggs, CEO of Propel Change, and today we're going to be talking with Dr. Brian Wilcox about obsessive customer service. Now, Dr. Wilcox is the Chief Physician Executive at St. Thomas Heart, as well as a cardiac and thoracic surgeon. And you really hear a lot of horror stories about healthcare and patient issues, but what you're going to hear today is so much different than that, which is why we asked him to be our guest for obsessive customer service. So, Dr. Wilcox, we have such a fun story.
Brian, please.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
So there's one of the big differences.
It is, that's right.
So we have such a fun story, Brian, to tell, and it has been amazing to be able to say to people, you're not going to believe how this all happened. So I want to tell everybody a little bit about what happened and then kind of pick your brain about how do you get people to do what you have done for us.
Sure, glad to talk.
Basically, my husband had open heart surgery, which you know. It was a shock when we were told he was going to have open heart surgery. And so the first thing that we do is we get on the phone with a couple of friends, or send emails, actually, to a couple of friends and said, all right, so St. Thomas, who would you recommend? Because that's who we need to talk to.
Sure. And then I got a call, a couple emails and a call, and then I reached out to you and your husband, if I remember correctly.
Yep. And it was, here's my information. So that was the first big, really? Here is all my information, including my cell phone. Please contact me so that we can talk about this.
Well, and I think being accessible is one of the cornerstones of being a successful provider of care now. Mm-hmm. So access is really now through a myriad of platforms, whether it's your phone or it's your computer or it's a handshake or it's a pass or it's a comrade or a friend's referral. So however we're connected to patients is the way we try to establish relationships and meet them. And so I think our relationship started by email, but it quickly transitioned into a couple phone calls on a Friday night, if I remember. So.
It was. And I remember you apologizing. I'm so sorry to bother you on Friday night. What? Please bother us. This is a big deal.
Well, and I think what you just touched on is really important in patient care, which is to that patient, that family, whatever they're dealing with is the most important thing in their world at the moment. And when we see hundreds or thousands of patients over a year, it's easy to forget that. So if you stay on job, which is that patient and that moment is job one, the most important thing in their life, it makes it a lot easier to call Friday night or Saturday morning to say, okay, I know you're worried, let's talk. What can I do to help?
I think the second part of, after those phone calls on that Friday night, the second part that was so amazing out of three was on Easter Sunday. Again, you called, we were actually in the stable working, and you called, again, apologized for bothering us on Easter Sunday. It's like, bother us, this is a big deal. And you were at that point, gave us, here's my recommendation for who I would have do your surgery, because he had been on vacation and you had to talk to him first.
Yeah, and in fact, my partner who did your husband's surgery was out of town. He was in New York. I called him in New York, explained the situation, and asked him to be able and willing to step in and see you quickly when he got in town. Of course, like me, he was glad to do so. So I made that connection and then reconnected to you and your husband. So my job really was as a facilitator, but in a larger sense, is to really create that culture of access and willingness and promptness that we think really is a patient care win.
So the third part of that was such an amazing piece to us was, as I explained to you, I'm going out of town, I have a speaking engagement, I can cancel it if I need to, but is there anything we can do? And you had already talked to him and told him about that. So he worked us in before he actually started surgeries 2 days later.
Well, that's right. I called my partner and I said, I know your schedule's busy, but I've got a couple that I really want you to meet that I think you'll be glad to meet and take care of. Let's see if we can bump the schedule. So he talked to his office manager. He and the office manager moved you to the head of the line. I think you came in at 7 in the morning, which is an off hour. He didn't have office that week or that day. And you came in, you met him, made surgical plans, and I think he went to surgery the next week. Fortunately, the concern over his condition didn't mean he needed an immediate operation. But your concern is understandable, and that's our job as providers, as physicians and surgeons, is to say, okay, I sense your anxiety. I know you're concerned. This is real. It's not a 3-alarm fire emergency, but let's put a plan together that'll reassure you and allow you to relax for a few days before we move the actual surgical plan forward.
Yes. And I just want you to know, everybody I tell this, it's just amazing. Their mouths drop open. They just can't believe anybody would go to all of that trouble, even knowing that this is a big, life-threatening kind of issue. So here's what I really want to know. How do you impart that obsessive customer service that you do so incredibly well into everybody on your staff and all the docs at this hospital? What do you do?
Well, you start by staying on message, which is just say yes. So it may not be that I can solve your particular problem, but I have expressed a willingness that I'm going to take your problem and make it my own. And organizationally, we have 68 surgeons and cardiologists in our practice, and virtually to a man and woman, we believe that our job is to facilitate patient care success stories, just like your husband's. So we all give out our digital access points, our phone numbers, our email address, and our phone numbers are on our business cards. And we all have very defined schedules and hours, but what we all, I think, share is this willingness to blow up the schedule and accommodate the reality of an urgent or emergent or even just an anxiety-provoking situation like your husband has. Now, like any organization, there's gaps in how we do this, and one of my leadership responsibilities, I think, is to remind my partners and our team that this is job one. If we say yes, as I mentioned to you earlier, you may need your baby delivered, and I'm not the guy to do it, but I know I can find somebody in as quickly a time as I did for your husband to deliver your baby. Right. So in care, I think that's a really reassuring maybe quality or value that we can offer patients. And I think it distinguishes us, frankly, from some of the competitors we have in our space.
Because we could go a lot of places for the same type of surgery.
Well, that's right. And nationally, Nashville is well regarded medically, but locally, we're in a place where there's really a lot of great health care. Right. Nobody is finding themselves where they can't get what they need. So how do you distinguish yourselves? I think you do it by your culture of quality, which is a given, we think, but we push hard for quality. And you do it with access and with customer care service, which as a patient is just a sense of empathy, compassion, and then frankly timeliness, like your husband experienced. So.
Well, thank you, because I think any organization could take that same information and say, if we applied these 3 principles, we'd be better.
I think you're right. I think in healthcare, which is such an important part of anybody's life, the fact that whoever is caring for you is willing to do it almost at their inconvenience for your convenience really is a win. And so we think organizationally this is the right way to be.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us how you show up in terms of what we saw. It's amazing.
It's our pleasure. I'm glad your husband's doing great.
He's doing great. We appreciate you.
Certainly.
So now you've heard how obsessive customer service works in healthcare. So ask yourself a couple of questions. In our organization, what do we do for obsessive customer service? And is it all of us? Or is it just 1 or 2 people who that's their job? So for more topics like this and to learn more about how we help our clients, please visit our website. We love your feedback. We've been getting great feedback on LinkedIn and in emails. So if you have a topic that you'd like us to discuss, or if you have questions, please send us an email. We would love to hear from you.